The sun rose gently over the quiet suburban town, casting golden light on Maplewood Elementary. Birds chirped, and a soft breeze rustled the leaves outside the schoolyard. Inside the brick walls, the day began like any other. Children arrived, with backpacks slung over their shoulders, laughing and chatting as they entered classrooms. Teachers greeted their students with warm smiles and prepared lessons, the hum of learning filling the air. Principal Davis stood in his office, sipping coffee and reviewing the schedule for the day. To an outsider, everything seemed calm and peaceful, an ordinary school day. But beneath this surface of normalcy, an undercurrent of tension was about to break the calm in a way no one anticipated. At precisely 9:15 a.m., the routine was interrupted. Two police cruisers pulled up to the front of the school, their engines rumbling softly but purposefully. Officers in dark uniforms stepped out, their expressions serious, scanning the school grounds with trained eyes. Behind them trotted Rex, a large German shepherd with sharp, alert eyes and a sleek coat. Rex wasn't just any dog. He was a highly trained police canine, known in the department for his uncanny ability to detect what others couldn't. The arrival caused a ripple of curiosity and unease among the teachers and students. News traveled quickly through the school halls, whispers spreading like wildfire. What were the police doing here? Was there danger? The principal hurried to meet the officers in the lobby, trying to keep his calm even as uncertainty gnawed at him. Detective Morales, leading the team, held up a small piece of paper. A tip had come in overnight. There's reason to believe something suspicious is hidden somewhere inside the school, possibly in the basement, he explained quietly. We need to search the premises carefully. The teachers exchanged uneasy glances. The basement had long been forgotten, a dusty storage space mostly off-limits to students. No one imagined it would be the center of a police investigation. Meanwhile, the children tried to carry on with their lessons, though the unusual police presence unsettled even the most carefree of them. Rex was already on alert. His nose twitched as he sniffed the air, picking up faint scents carried from the outside world. His handler, Officer James, tightened the leash slightly, feeling the dog's energy and focus. Let's keep the kids safe and get to the bottom of this quickly, Principal Davis said, his voice steady but tinged with worry. As the police began their sweep of the school, Rex led the way, nose close to the ground. He passed classrooms filled with curious eyes watching his every move. Teachers watched silently, some whispering reassurances to nervous students. The halls that had moments ago been filled with laughter now echoed with the steady footfalls of the officers and the soft bark of the dog. Rex's path took him through the cafeteria, past the library, and finally to the stairwell leading down. To the basement. The dog's tail stiffened, his breathing quickened. Suddenly he stopped, ears pricked, and let out a sharp bark, a warning that something was not right. Detective Morales stepped forward and knelt beside Rex. Good boy, he said quietly. The dog's bark had drawn the attention of several teachers and students who had gathered near the stairwell, their faces pale with worry. The basement door, usually locked tight and ignored by most, stood before them. The officers retrieved keys from the principal's office, exchanged tense looks, and slowly unlocked the heavy metal door. A stale, musty odor wafted up as the door creaked open, revealing darkness beyond. Rex hesitated only for a moment before bounding down the steps, his paws echoing softly on the concrete floor. The officers followed closely behind, flashlights cutting through the gloom. Dust motes danced in the beams of light as they revealed rows of shelves, boxes, and old equipment, remnants of years of forgotten storage. But Rex wasn't interested in the clutter. His nose pulled him deeper into the basement, past piles of forgotten books and crates, until he reached a corner that seemed untouched for ages. There, his barking grew louder, more urgent. He had found something hidden. The school community held its breath upstairs, unaware of the discovery about to unfold. What Rex had uncovered in that forgotten corner would shock them all and change the school forever. The school buzzed with uneasy whispers as the officers and Rex disappeared into the shadowed basement. Upstairs, teachers struggled to keep students calm, but rumors and fear swirled quickly. Parents had started arriving, drawn by the flashing police lights, their faces etched with worry. No one yet knew what the police dog had found, or if it was anything at all. Down below, Rex's paws padded softly on the cold concrete, his senses heightened. This was no ordinary scent trail. The dog's sharp nose twitched as he circled the corner where his barking had grown more insistent. The stale air was thick with dust, but beneath it, a faint, strange odor lingered, one that only Rex could detect. His body tensed, eyes scanning every shadow. Officer James crouched beside him, voice calm but firm. "What is it, boy? What do you smell?" He glanced around, shining his flashlight on the cluttered basement, but the space seemed ordinary, until Rex's bark cut through the silence again, louder and more urgent. The dog began pawing at the floor near a heavy wooden crate. James knelt down and carefully pushed aside cobwebs. The crate looked old but unremarkable, yet Rex wasn't fooled. He scratched with increasing urgency at the floor beneath it. Detective Morales stepped closer, shining his light on the spot. "Help me move this," he said. Together with two other officers, they lifted the crate, revealing a loose floorboard underneath. It was cleverly hidden, almost perfectly sealed. The officers exchanged quick glances. "This wasn't here by accident," Morales said, his voice low. "Someone went to great lengths to hide whatever is beneath this floor." James knelt, prying the floorboard up slowly. The smell became stronger, a sharp chemical scent mixed with something faintly metallic. Beneath the board lay a small cavity, just large enough to conceal several packages wrapped in thick, dark plastic. Rex barked excitedly, circling the opening as if guarding a treasure. Morales carefully pulled out the packages, each wrapped tightly, taped securely, and clearly concealed for some time. The officers' expressions darkened as they examined the suspicious bundles. "What is it?" James asked, already knowing the likely answer but hoping otherwise. Morales unwrapped one of the packages slowly. Inside there were rows of small, tightly packed bricks, drug bricks unmistakably. Alongside them were packets of what looked like contraband, possibly cigarettes or other illegal goods. The discovery sent a shockwave through the officers. Illegal drugs hidden beneath an elementary school. How had this gone unnoticed? Who had placed them here and why? The implications were frightening. Meanwhile, back upstairs, Principal Davis was receiving phone calls from concerned parents. The news was spreading rapidly through social media, rumors swirling faster than facts. Teachers did their best to reassure students, but the tension was palpable. Detective Morales radioed for backup. "We've got a significant find. Need the narcotics unit and forensic team on site ASAP." As the minutes dragged on, Rex sat beside the open floorboard, alert and proud. He had done what no human could do, find the invisible threat lurking beneath innocent feet. The forensic team arrived, meticulously documenting the scene. Photographs were taken, evidence bags sealed. Officers began to piece together the puzzle, searching for fingerprints, any clue that might lead to the person responsible. Inside the school office, Morales met with Principal Davis quietly. "This is serious. We need to review staff and visitor logs and pull all surveillance footage immediately." Davis nodded grimly, realizing the weight of the situation. The safety of his school, his students, and his staff was suddenly under threat from a dark secret hidden just below their feet. Across the classrooms, the children remained unaware of the full extent of what was unfolding below. Their laughter and chatter continued, but a subtle shift in atmosphere lingered, like the calm before a storm. As Rex lay down, tired but alert, Officer James scratched behind his ears. "Good work today, boy. You've saved a lot more than just this school." For Rex, it was another day's job, but for everyone else, it was the beginning of a mystery that would shake the community to its core. The sharp, insistent barking echoed through the basement stairwell, slicing through the usual calm of Maplewood Elementary like a sudden thunderclap. Teachers and students alike paused, their attention drawn to the sound. Something serious was happening. The officers upstairs, tense and focused, knew that Rex's bark wasn't just noise. It was a warning, a signal that something critical had been uncovered. Detective Morales crouched near the basement entrance, his flashlight illuminating the steps that descended into shadow. The dog's alert posture and repeated barking told him all he needed to know. The basement held more secrets than anyone expected. The officers exchanged silent glances. This was no ordinary search. Inside the basement, Rex's sharp bark bounced off the cold concrete walls as he circled the spot where the hidden cavity had been uncovered. The packages of contraband were now safely bagged and tagged by forensic experts, but Rex's senses told him the story was far from over. "Let's check the rest of the basement," Morales ordered. "If someone stashed this here, they might have left more." The officers split up, flashlights piercing the darkness as they scanned every nook and cranny. Stale air mingled with dust and the faint scent of mildew. Boxes of old textbooks and broken equipment lined the walls, things that had been gathering dust for years. But Rex stayed close to Morales, his nose twitching, eyes sharp. Suddenly, Rex froze near a rusted metal cabinet. His nostrils flared as he let out a low growl, then barked sharply again. Morales moved closer, the beam of his flashlight catching the cabinet's peeling paint. Something felt wrong. James stepped forward, gently opening the cabinet door with a creak. Inside, hidden beneath a pile of old cleaning supplies, was a small bag, sealed tightly and emitting the faintest hint of chemicals. Morales carefully pulled it out. More contraband, James muttered grimly, examining the contents. It was clear the person responsible for this stash had gone to extraordinary lengths to hide their illegal goods throughout the basement. As they continued their search, the sound of footsteps echoed above, and Principal Davis appeared at the basement door, face pale but composed. "What's happening down here?" he asked, voice steady but strained. Morales looked up. "We've found more hidden packages, drugs possibly dangerous. We're securing the area, but this goes deeper than we thought." Davis swallowed hard. "This is unbelievable. Under my school?" Morales nodded. "And we need to find out who's behind this, fast." Meanwhile, upstairs, whispers turned to murmurs, and murmurs to a buzz of nervous speculation. Teachers whispered in hushed tones, parents paced anxiously, and students wondered if school would ever feel safe again. The principal addressed the gathered staff, his voice calm but firm. "We are cooperating fully with the police," Davis assured. "Our priority is the safety and well-being of every student here." Back in the basement, Rex's barking suddenly grew louder. He charged down a narrow hallway that had been overlooked, tail high and ears forward. Morales and James followed closely, flashlights swinging in unison. The hallway ended at a heavy metal door, one that looked newer than the rest of the basement. It was locked, but Morales quickly picked the lock, the sound of the tumblers clicking, loud in the silence. Inside the room was a small hidden chamber, stark and cold. On the floor were more bags and boxes, arranged with meticulous care. Morales ran his fingers over some packages, confirming the unmistakable signs of smuggling, illicit substances carefully packaged and stored. This is a full-scale operation," Morales said quietly, his eyes scanning the room. Rex paced the floor, sniffing every corner. His bark seemed to say, "There's more here. Something important." Morales's phone buzzed. He answered quickly, listening intently. The voice on the other end was from the narcotics unit. Backup was en route, and they had preliminary information from surveillance footage. "Looks like someone's been using the school as a drop-off point," Morales said grimly. "We're about to find out who." The barking that had startled the school community moments ago now took on a new meaning, a canine alarm that had stopped time and revealed a dangerous secret lurking just below their feet. As Rex settled beside Morales, his eyes bright and vigilant, the officers prepared to dig deeper. What they had uncovered was only the beginning, and the truth would shake the school and the entire community to its core. The hidden chamber was cold and silent, lit only by the flickering beams of flashlights cutting through the dust-filled air. Every officer present knew this was no ordinary find. It was a carefully concealed stash, the heart of a mystery that had somehow taken root beneath the innocent halls of Maplewood Elementary. Detective Morales crouched, examining the neat stacks of plastic-wrapped packages laid out on the concrete floor. The smell was sharp, chemical, too potent to be anything but illegal. Surrounding the bundles were smaller packets, some marked with symbols, others simply wrapped in brown paper. It was clear. Whoever had stashed these items here knew exactly what they were doing. Officer James scanned the room with a keen eye. This isn't just drugs. There's something else, maybe weapons or stolen goods. Morales nodded grimly. We need to get this all catalogued and sent to the lab immediately. But more than that, we need answers. Who would risk hiding? This under a school? The dog, Rex, sat alert beside Morales, occasionally letting out a low growl as if sensing the weight of the secret they had just unearthed. The team began carefully collecting evidence, making sure nothing was disturbed or contaminated. Back. Upstairs, Principal Davis was pacing in his office, phone pressed tightly to his ear. He was talking to the school board, parents, and the media, trying to maintain calm even as the news spiraled beyond his control. The safety of our students is our absolute priority, he said firmly. We're cooperating fully with law enforcement to get to the bottom of this. Yet inside, Davis felt the crushing weight of betrayal. How could something so dangerous be hidden beneath his school, his responsibility? In the basement, Morales and his team reviewed the building's blueprints on a tablet, trying to map every inch of the basement and nearby tunnels. The school was older than most realized, with a complex network of service corridors and maintenance shafts. Look here, Morales pointed. This tunnel runs right under the east wing. If someone was moving stuff in and out, they could have used this route to avoid detection. James shone his flashlight down the narrow passage. It was cramped, filled with cobwebs and rusted pipes, but it extended beyond the school property, potentially to a nearby warehouse or alley. Morales's mind raced. This wasn't a simple stash. It was part of a larger smuggling operation, using the school as a drop-off point. The thought chilled him. Meanwhile, the forensic team began processing fingerprints and DNA from the packages. Morales reviewed staff lists, looking for anyone with access to the basement or those service corridors. He cross-referenced surveillance, footage from the past month, scanning for unusual activity. Then something caught his eye, a figure, someone who appeared several times near the basement door, often alone, moving boxes at odd hours. The person wore a janitor's uniform, blending in with school staff but acting suspiciously. Morales zoomed in on the footage. The janitor's face was partly obscured, but enough to recognize a man named Carl Peters, an employee with a long tenure and no previous incidents. Yet his late-night appearances near the basement were hard to ignore. Get me a full background check on Carl Peters, Morales ordered. I want to know everything: criminal record, recent behavior, any connections to illegal activities. As the team worked, the community outside struggled with shock and disbelief. Parents debated whether to keep their children home, while teachers reassured frightened students. Rumors and speculations swirled like wildfire. But inside the school, the officers knew this was just the beginning. The hidden packages were a clue to a darker web of crime, one that reached farther than anyone had imagined. Rex, sensing the tension, rested his head on Morales's knee. The dog's presence was a small comfort amid the chaos. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a call from the forensic lab. Detective Morales, you need to see this. The samples show traces of multiple substances, some rare and highly dangerous. And one of the fingerprints matches a known smuggler recently arrested in a neighboring county. Morales's heart pounded. The case was bigger than a simple school stash. It was part of a sprawling network, and the school was just one stop in a much larger, more dangerous operation. He looked down at Rex. We're going to need all your help, boy. Outside, the day waned, and the community braced for the storm that was coming. The storm unleashed by a barking dog and a secret hidden beneath the school's very foundation. The night had settled over Maplewood Elementary, but the school was far from asleep. Light still flickered in classrooms and hallways, where police officers and forensic teams moved with quiet urgency. The discovery beneath the school had shaken the community, but the search for answers was only beginning. Detective Morales sat in a cramped office, the glow of his laptop illuminating his face as he studied the files on Carl Peters. The janitor's name came up with a clean record, no arrests, no disciplinary actions. Yet his recent behavior told a different story. Surveillance footage showed Peters arriving early in the morning and staying late long after everyone else. had left. Several times he was seen entering the basement without logging it. He had access to all areas of the school, a perfect cover for someone wanting to move things unnoticed. Morales rubbed his temples. "There's more here than meets." "The eye," he muttered. Meanwhile, Officer James and Rex sat outside the principal's office, keeping watch. Rex's ears twitched at every sound, the faintest noise catching his attention. The dog seemed restless, as if sensing the tension in the air. Suddenly, Morales stood. "We need to talk to Carl. Bring him in." Within minutes, the janitor was escorted into the interview room. He was a man in his mid-50s with a weathered face and tired eyes. His uniform was clean, but his demeanor was guarded. Morales began gently. "Mr. Peters, we've found something hidden in the basement. Packages of illegal substances. You have access to that area. Can you explain your presence there?" Peters swallowed hard, avoiding eye contact. I don't know anything about that. I clean and maintain the building. I don't get involved in anything else." Morales studied him carefully. "You were seen entering the basement after hours without permission. That's suspicious. I was doing extra cleaning. Sometimes the day staff misses spots. You can check the logs," Peters replied quickly. Morales leaned forward. "Is there anyone else who has access to the basement? Anyone you trust?" The janitor hesitated. "No one. It's just me and the maintenance crew, but they don't come down here much." Morales decided to press further. "Mr. Peters, if you know anything about these packages, now is the time to tell us. The school and children's safety depend on it." For a long moment, Peters stayed silent. Then his shoulders slumped. "I didn't want to get involved," he admitted quietly. "But I found something strange about 2 weeks ago. A man came. He said he was from a delivery company. He handed me some boxes to store here for a few days." Morales' eyes narrowed. "Did you see his face? Any names?" "No. He was careful, wore a hat and sunglasses. He said not to ask questions and that the packages were important. The pieces began to fall into place. Someone was using Peters as a mule, perhaps without his full knowledge, but still complicit." Morales nodded. "Thank you for telling us. We'll need you to stay available for further questions." Outside the interrogation room, the officers exchanged looks. The janitor might not be the mastermind, but he was a vital link in the chain. Meanwhile, the forensic team worked through the night, analyzing every piece of evidence from the basement. The drugs tested positive for several dangerous substances, some synthetic and rare, others common but highly addictive. Worse, some of the packaging had traces of explosives. "This isn't just about drugs," Morales said grimly to James. "They could be using this as a hub for trafficking weapons or explosives." The news sent shockwaves through the department. The idea that a school was being used for such a dangerous operation was almost too much to comprehend. Back at the school, Rex's role grew even more important. The dog was taken to several locations linked to the investigation, sniffing out more clues, tracing scents from the school basement to a nearby warehouse. The team discovered that the smuggling ring operated across multiple towns, using unsuspecting people like Carl Peters to move goods under the radar. Meanwhile, Principal Davis met with local officials, planning how to reassure parents and keep the school safe. The community's trust had been shaken, and the road ahead would be long. As dawn approached, Morales stood outside the school, watching the early morning light wash over the building. Rex sat faithfully by his side. "We're getting closer," Morales said softly. "But this is far from over." The detective knew that behind the shadows of the school's basement lay a dark network, one that would require every ounce of patience, skill, and courage to unravel. The faint light of dawn crept over the horizon, casting long shadows on Maplewood Elementary. For most, the school was just a place of learning and laughter. But for Detective Morales and his team, the quiet morning signaled another day in a high-stakes investigation, one that had spiraled far beyond the basement. Rex, the ever-alert police dog, wagged his tail as officers prepared to visit a location connected to the scents he had traced from the school. The warehouse lay just a few miles away, an old abandoned building on the edge of town. Its rusted metal doors and boarded-up windows gave it the appearance of a forgotten relic. Perfect cover for illicit activity. Morales led the team cautiously through the early morning mist. The air was thick with tension. If this warehouse was part of the smuggling network, they were stepping deeper into dangerous territory. Inside, the warehouse was cavernous and dimly lit by shafts of sunlight breaking through cracks in the ceiling. Dust motes floated in the stale air. Rows of crates, some open and empty, others still sealed, lined the concrete floor. Rex's nose twitched as he sniffed the air, ears pricked. Suddenly, he darted forward, barking sharply. Morales and the officers followed, uncovering several boxes marked with the same symbols found on the packages beneath the school. "This is it," Morales whispered. "The source." Carefully, the team searched the space. Hidden behind stacks of crates, Morales found a small office space, its door locked but flimsy. With a swift kick, the door creaked open, revealing a cluttered room filled with papers, cell phones, and maps. Morales rifled through the documents, his eyes widening as he uncovered a ledger filled with names, dates, and locations, an intricate web of contacts spanning multiple states. The operation was vast, more organized than they had imagined. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed through the warehouse. Morales signaled for silence, his hand going to his radio. "Police!" James shouted as figures emerged from the shadows. It was the smuggling crew, rough men armed and ready. A tense standoff ensued. Morales kept calm, ordering the men to drop their weapons. Rex barked fiercely, his presence a warning that the police were not to be underestimated. With the crew, subdued and handcuffed, the officers began securing the warehouse. The haul was massive, drugs, explosives, weapons all ready for distribution. Back at the station, Morales studied the arrests, piecing together the hierarchy. The smuggling ring had used the school not only as a drop-off, but as a transit point. Hidden in plain sight, Rex, tired but triumphant, curled up at Morales's feet. The dog's bark had cracked open a dark secret that might have gone unnoticed for years. At Maplewood Elementary, Principal Davis addressed the community in a special meeting. Parents, teachers, and officials gathered in the gymnasium, their faces a mix of relief and concern. "We will continue to work with law enforcement to ensure this never happens again," Davis said firmly. "Our school is a safe place, and we will rebuild trust together." But the story was far from over. Morales knew the smuggling ring's leaders were still out there, and their reach was deep. As night fell over the town, the detective prepared for the next phase of the investigation. The barking dog had found the trail, but the chase was just beginning. The arrest of the warehouse crew was a significant victory, but Detective Morales knew it was just one move in a larger game. The network behind the smuggling operation was sprawling, and those captured were merely pawns in a shadowy hierarchy. Back at the station, Morales pored over the ledgers recovered from the warehouse office. Names, phone numbers, and coded messages filled the pages. One name, however, stood out. A figure whispered in law enforcement circles but rarely caught. A man known only as the Broker. "The Broker," Morales muttered, tapping a printed photo against the desk. The man's face was partially obscured in every image, but the eyes were unmistakable, cold, calculating, and elusive. "He's the mastermind behind this operation," James said, leaning in. "Moves goods, pulls strings. If we want to shut this down, we find him." Morales nodded. "And that means following the trail wherever it leads, even if it takes us far from here." Meanwhile, Maplewood Elementary was still reeling from the revelations. Students whispered in hallways, teachers adjusted schedules to accommodate increased security, and Principal Davis worked tirelessly to restore normalcy. Rex, meanwhile, became a local hero, a symbol of vigilance and protection. Children stopped by the station to pet him, and news outlets ran stories highlighting the dog's crucial role. But for Morales, the pressure was mounting. The Broker's network was vast, and they had begun to notice the police's advances. Anonymous tips hinted at surveillance, and strange vehicles were spotted near the detective's home. One evening, Morales sat alone in his office, the weight of the case heavy on his shoulders. The phone rang, a blocked number. He answered cautiously. "Here's just the beginning, Detective," a distorted voice warned. "Back off or you'll regret it." The line went dead. Morales's resolve hardened. Whoever was behind this wasn't going to back down. Working with federal agencies, Morales tracked encrypted communications and financial transactions, slowly uncovering a pattern. The broker's influence extended to corrupt officials, allowing shipments to pass unchecked. A breakthrough came when a courier was caught attempting to move a large shipment through a nearby port. Under questioning, the courier revealed the location of a remote safe house. Morales assembled a team preparing for a raid. The safe house was isolated, surrounded by dense woods, perfect for secret meetings. The night was thick with anticipation. As officers approached silently, flashlights and weapons ready, inside they found crates filled with more drugs, weapons, and detailed plans outlining the smuggling routes. Most importantly, they found evidence linking the broker directly to the operation: financial records, coded messages, and contact lists. But the broker himself was nowhere to be found. Back at the station, Morales examined the documents. The broker had covered his tracks well, but one slip stood out: a name associated with a luxury yacht docked just outside the city. "This might be our lead," Morales said. "We're going after him." As the investigation reached a critical point, Morales couldn't help but reflect on how it all began, with a dog's bark echoing in a school basement. Rex had uncovered a hidden world, and now the detective was on the verge of exposing the mastermind behind it all. The chase was entering its final phase, and Morales knew it wouldn't end without a fight. The luxury yacht gleamed under the moonlight, moored quietly at the marina. To most, it was a symbol of wealth and success. But for Detective Morales and his team, it was the final piece in a dangerous puzzle. The broker, the elusive mastermind behind the smuggling ring, was rumored to be aboard. Morales studied the surveillance photos again. The yacht had state-of-the-art security, but the police were prepared for every scenario. Rex sat alert beside Morales, his nose twitching as the officers approached. The dog had been instrumental from the very beginning, his instincts guiding the team through twists and turns no one expected. The raid began just past midnight. Officers moved swiftly and silently, boarding the yacht with precision. Morales led the team up the polished decks, weapons drawn, eyes scanning every corner. In the captain's quarters, a figure attempted to flee through a side door, but Rex was faster. The dog's bark echoed sharply, startling the man, the broker himself, into a stumble. Morales tackled the man to the ground, cuffs clicking shut around his wrists. "You're under arrest," Morales said firmly, "for trafficking, smuggling, and endangering countless lives." The broker glared but said nothing, the weight of defeat settling in. Back on the dock, Morales looked down at Rex, who wagged his tail proudly. "We did it, boy. Thanks to you." The arrest sent shockwaves through the city and beyond. The broker's operation was dismantled and his network exposed. The shipments hidden beneath Maplewood Elementary were just one node in a vast criminal web, now broken. News outlets praised the bravery and teamwork that had brought justice, with Rex stealing the spotlight as the heroic police dog who started it all. At the school, life slowly returned to normal. Parents felt reassured, students returned with smiles, and Principal Davis ensured security was tighter than ever. But for Morales, the case was a reminder that danger could lurk anywhere, even in the most unexpected places. As he petted Rex, now a local legend, Morales felt a deep sense of satisfaction. "Good work, partner," he said softly. The dog barked in response, a sound that would forever echo as a symbol of courage, loyalty, and the power of one unexpected bark that uncovered a hidden world beneath a school.